this is Joey. What's up, Joey?
Yeah, how's it going,
Hey,
Bart?
how's it going? So,
Good,
Joey,
good.
are you like a vlogger, or you were just sort of posting
Yeah, I started just making reels and TikToks
reels?
since
Okay.
there wasn't that much content there, and I just started this last month making more vlogs, trying to transfer the people to YouTube. Yeah,
And what's the name of your YouTube channel?
it's Pokerbabbo. That's Babbo.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So you got is it a 2-5 hand? If I remember, is that
Yeah,
right?
it's 2-5, and it's just five-handed since the table is breaking down. So the rake is 1-1.
And where's this played
Played
at?
at a Hamul Casino in San Diego.
Oh, okay. Where's it?
In San Diego, it's like a Indian reservation casino.
What's it called?
Hamul,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Jamul.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't know it was pronounced that way. I was calling it
I
Jamel.
think I think it's pronounced that way.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I've never been there, but I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we're just five-handed, and the rake's 1-1, and I'm in the button with 10-9 of clubs, and the hijack that I guess in this position would be under the gun makes it 20, and we just call, so we go heads up to a flop.
So hijack, which is under the gun, raises to 20. Hero calls. You do have like two blinds ahead of you, right?
Yeah, small. Yeah.
So I mean, you're definitely. I mean, obviously you can do more calling, but it's short-handed. I kind of want to 3-bet this hand. How deep were you, by the
Okay.
way?
What?
How deep were you? What's the effective stacks?
1,000.
Yeah, I kind of want to 3-bet this hand.
Okay.
I mean, you're five-handed. You've got the button. I don't know. It kind of direct suited connector with some high card. I mean, sometimes call. I mean, I think I would call like in a more nine-handed configuration versus like an early position raise. You're allowed to call on the button, but I
Will
think
you make a difference if like it's nine-handed against a hijack than this situation against under the gun? Or would you just consider it the same thing?
that's actually an interesting question. I mean, according to what the chart, when you look at a chart, they just kind of lop off the front portions, meaning that I don't know. From what I remember, like looking at a six max chart, I think it's the same opening ranges as lopping off the first three positions nine-handed. I think so. Obviously, it depends on how people are playing. But yeah, it's interesting to note, like if somebody notices, like are they opening the range? I always say too, like in Texas with these multi-straddle games, I think people go way overboard because, you could be playing 6 or 7-handed and have 5 straddles, and now all of a sudden you're under the gun on the button. That certainly shouldn't be a button open range because you've got 5 unknown hands behind you, right? But
Yeah.
anyways, all right. So your head's up, right? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and
Okay.
as well, it was a pretty passive table, so I wasn't expecting the blinds to 3-bet that often. Took that as well. But yeah, okay, cool. And so the flop comes Jack of Diamonds, 8 of Clubs, 4 of Hearts.
Jack of diamonds, 8 of clubs, 4 of hearts. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yep.
And now he checks,
Okay.
and we bet 15.
So hero bets small, bets 15. Okay.
Yeah, definitely felt on the smaller side. I don't remember the reason I did that size in the moment. I felt maybe there's not that many draws. Just a straight draw.
I kind of like, just on the surface here, I kind of like it at 2/3-ish to 3/4. And I'll round off for live play. Like if the sizes are 1/3, 2/3 check, when the pot's small, I tend to go more towards like full pot when it's small, because again, it has to do with absolute pot size in live poker instead of, for example, like, the actual size of the hand. So in the actual percentage of the hand, excuse me. So that's kind of why I like, I would probably go 30 here, just because I think that you might actually get some immediate folds from some ace highs and things like that, where you might not, if you go 15, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they're
so-
deep too, drawn in the nuts of the back door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this turn is a 6 of
So
clubs.
he calls ace.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he calls. Turn is a 6 of clubs, so we have a flush draw to go with our straight draw.
By the way, I mean, you're keeping him much wider. That's for sure. Where
Yeah.
once you start to take small sizing, obviously you can, I think, probably do more double barreling than if you take a, larger sizing. I think people will sometimes chicken out though a little bit too. It's interesting. Okay, so now, you flop a mega draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he checks again, and I make it 40. And
No,
I did
I
have a
think-
question here. Would you consider overbetting this turn?
Yeah, I think I would go at least pot
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So check. Hero bets 40. I just think I would put max pressure on here, get
Hmm.
max fold equity. Um, I mean, I would have probably gone 30 and then gone like maybe 100, 110 and then evaluated at the end. It's always nice to have the front. There's no front door flush draw that you have to worry
No.
about him thinking that you're going to miss. You pick up the back door. Yeah, I'm going to go large here, pot to large.
If the flush draw didn't come out, would you still go that same size?
I don't think that you'd have to go necessarily pot it. I mean, it's interesting. You might though because of the small sizing on the flop. I would tend to do more sort of 3/4, whatever, 2/3 the full pot too, just because you're keeping him in wider. But once you structure correctly and you pick up this type of equity, Mark Goon says I like the small size. I assume you're talking about on the flop, maybe, and that might just be a function of him thinking that he wants to keep people in, and then he can structure correctly on the turn, which is sort of in line with theory. I think sometimes in live play, I talk about sort of getting money in a little bit early on for maximum fold equity. Maybe it's a stylistic thing, but okay. I think we can all agree. I like a larger sizing on the turn. You go 40, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he calls, and the river is a two of clubs, so we hit our flush.
Okay, so it calls. So now the pot's
Yeah.
150, right? All right.
I wrote 155, I think, just because the rake was smaller. But yeah,
Okay.
basically.
55. And then the river's the deuce of clubs. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So the river's the deuce of clubs, and now you make a backdoor flush. That's great. Okay.
Yeah. And he checks. I bet 125. He tanks a little bit and raises to 375.
Check raise to 375. Interesting. Just before we evaluate the check raise, so at this point, because it's interesting though, because you've gone so small. If I had gone larger on flop and on turn, it's really interesting because then you trying to figure out like what this guy has. Now you block some of the hands that might be like holding on that don't beat a jack, like nines and tens. I don't know how often in this game people are checking like jack X or overpairs or something like that, but large, and then you make the backdoor. I kind of tend to want to take almost a pot size bet too. Here, he kind of can have some other hands here too. Now you go 125, which is like, 2/3 to 3/4. It's just something of note. Like, what did you think that this guy, what kind of range did you put him on
My guess
when,
was, yeah, that he just flopped a jack and decided to just play trickier and check the moment he called on the flop and the turn. I wasn't thinking, like, because I'm blocking the straights, I have a flush myself. Maybe tens, nines. In the moment, I was just thinking it's most likely he has a jack, so he just checked to call down if there's no overcard. So I was just trying to get value since my flush is the back door, and maybe he thinks I have like 10-9 myself, or is barreling with just a straight draw that missed.
so the thing is that obviously when you're trying to figure out, so you make a backdoor flush, obviously, right? So when you're trying to figure out what is and then your opponent is now raising you, so obviously he's representing a backdoor flush here, right? I mean, I don't think he's got 5-7 that's waiting to the end to raise you. Check call check, just doesn't make a lot of sense. When you're looking at a backdoor flush possibilities, of course you want to look back at the distribution of the suits, and in this case here the 8 of clubs is out there, which means jack X of clubs is available. The other though interesting thing of note with your hand is that you block probably, two thick jack X of club combos that might open, which is jack 9 and jack 10 of clubs, right? Obviously he can have queen jack, king jack, and ace jack. But the thing is here is that it looks like at this point the pot is what, 655, and it's like 250 for you to call. It looks like, if I'm doing the math right.
155 plus 125,
Yeah,
so like 280.
125 to 375, right? I thought you said.
The pot on the river, I think it was 155, and I bet 125.
And he made it 375, right?
He made 375. Yeah.
Right. So it's looking at 655, 250 for you to call. So, I mean, I think it's just a call. I find it like, man, at this level, it's extreme for these type of pot odds here to ever consider folding here or getting 2.5 to 1. I find it, I don't know. People are saying it's under bluff, but, I mean, maybe I don't love it, Mark Goon says he snap folds so fast. It just seems kind of
Could be
small.
as
Now,
well.
if you went
Bet
125 to like 500 to 600, I can start to see it. But I mean, it would be very, very hard for me. It would be very, very hard for me to fold here getting these types of pot odds. What were you thinking, caller?
that I just bet so small on the flop. I think any ace with a backdoor flush is calling.
That's true. That's definitely true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he has I mean, I got so many comments. That's why I wanted to share with you that they were just saying he had a set or two pairs. I just think that never happens. If he has a set or two pair, he's just raising the flop a turn. So yeah, he's just saying he has a flush himself or a bluff. And I was just thinking if he had a bluff, you'd have to have like the naked ace of clubs. And the only one I could find myself is ace jack, and I don't think he'd turning top into a bluff. Or maybe if he got sticky with the ace eight but off, that wouldn't, I don't know if he's even, I mean, maybe he's raising that from the hijack. I'm just not sure. So yeah, I just couldn't find any bluffs in this spot, and all the value I just thought were flushes themselves. And I mean, there was not many lower flushes than mine with the 8 and the 6 being on board. So yeah, I just couldn't find any bluffs, and all the value just felt like stronger flushes. And just because the small bet on the flop, I just think, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised do you think just every suited ace is calling the flop bet, even like ace 5, ace 6?
I mean, those are all have backdoor straight draws. So like if you throw the combinations in, I mean, you make a good point about because you're keeping them wide because of the small sizing, and there's probably not many bluffs. So maybe you can talk me into a call. It's just so enticing at this level because I've seen so much wacky shit. What did you end up doing here? I mean, entice me into a fold, excuse me. What did you end up doing here?
Yeah, I do end up tank folding. I couldn't see it. I just couldn't find a bluff. And the guy was nice enough because it's like a week later. I just showed him the video and all the comments, and he was just nice enough to tell me that he had ace queen of clubs for the nuts.
He
that was nice
showed
for
you,
him.
or he told you?
He told me, so it's up to believe if he was saying the truth or not. I know the guy. I play with him often, so I'd be surprised if he lied. But yeah, he didn't show me in the moment. I just it was like a week later that I showed him the video that I sent to you that he told me.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I mean, again, that's in your shorts, right? If anyone wants to take a look at it, I mean, it's a real hand, right? Because you had it. Yeah, you listed it down. But thank you very much for the call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bart.
All right.